He was the last of the Magnificent Seven, the final man to ride out of Hollywood's golden age of westerns, leaving behind not just a filmography, but a legacy of conscience, complexity, and quiet command. Robert Francis Vaughn was born on November 22, 1932, at Charity Hospital in New York City. His parents were both actors, his father on radio, his mother on stage, and the rhythms of performance were part of his life before he even understood them. After their divorce, Robert moved to Minneapolis to live with his grandparents while his mother continued to tour the country. As a child, he was introspective, emotionally sensitive, and often at odds with the world around him. But it was in that solitude that he began to notice details, to feel deeply, qualities that would later make him such a subtle and powerful actor. After high school, Vaughn began studying journalism at the University of Minnesota, but he left after a year to join his mother in Los Angeles. There, his path shifted permanently toward the stage. He studied theater at Los Angeles City College and earned a master's degree in 1960. A decade later, he completed a PhD in communications at the University of Southern California. His doctoral thesis, a deep and principled study of the effects of the House Committee on Un-American Activities on the American Theater, would be published as Only Victims, and remains a definitive work on the cost of political fear in the arts. His career began with bit parts, first as an extra in the Ten Commandments, then as Bob Ford in Hell's Crossroads. But it was in the Young Philadelphians, 1959, that he found his breakout, playing a wounded war veteran accused of murder. Vaughn's performance earned him an Academy Award nomination and revealed the emotional depth that would become his signature. The following year, in The Magnificent Seven, Vaughn played Lee, the reluctant gunfighter with nerves frayed by guilt and time. His portrayal was quietly devastating. Clad in black gloves, refusing to get his hands dirty, Lee was a man who had taken too many lives to ever feel whole again. Vaughn gave him dignity. He gave him sorrow, and he gave the film one of its most human characters. Then came the man from U.N.C.L.E. In 1964, Vaughn took on the role of Napoleon Solo, a secret agent with charm, elegance, and a wry detachment that captivated audiences. For 4 years, he played opposite David McCallum's Ilya Kuryakin, and together they became cultural icons, even behind the Iron Curtain. At the height of the show's popularity, Vaughn received tens of thousands of fan letters each month, a reflection of the strange and powerful intimacy television had forged with its stars. But he never let fame define him. In a time when many prefer to stay quiet, Vaughn chose to speak with clarity and care. He lent his voice to public causes, supported leadership he believed in, and used his intellect not for confrontation, but for conversation. Through writing, dialogue, and action, he stood for a belief that art and integrity must walk hand in hand. His convictions were thoughtful, never performative, grounded in the quiet idea that some responsibilities go beyond the screen. After The Man from U.N.C.L.E., he returned to film, Bullet with Steve McQueen, The Bridge at Remagen, Superman 3. He later took on roles in miniseries like Washington, Behind Closed Doors, for which he won an Emmy, and the British hit Hustle, where he played the veteran conman Albert Stroller with sly wisdom and grace. He worked across decades, across genres, and across continents. And through it all, Robert Vaughn never stopped being curious, never stopped being thoughtful, never stopped being present. In 1974, he married actress Linda Staub. They adopted 2 children and built a quiet life in Connecticut, far from the spotlight. It was a kind of second act, less public but no less real. In his later years, he continued to act, to write, and to reflect. In 2008, he published his memoir, A Fortunate Life, and the title says everything. With a modest amount of looks and talent, he wrote, and more than a modicum of serendipity, I've managed to stretch my 15 minutes of fame into more than half a century of good fortune. But time, as it always does, drew its curtain. In 2016, after a year-long battle with acute leukemia, Robert Vaughn passed away on November 11th, just days before his 84th birthday. He died in Connecticut, surrounded by the quiet life he had chosen after a lifetime of performance. With him went the last breath of the Magnificent Seven, the final link to a time when honor, vulnerability, and restraint could still command the screen. Yet his legacy remains. In every black and white, still where his eyes say more than the script. In every student assigned only victims in a class on ethics and culture. In every rewatch of the man from U.N.C.L.E, where charm met intelligence and never asked permissio.